Senator from Missouri is recognized, and without objection, so ordered.
Madam President, conversations continue today about exactly how we're going to meet the financial obligations that our country faces. The fundamental question on hand seems to be, do we borrow more and spend more, or do we make the types of serious, tough decisions that'll make our nation, that'll get our nation back on a sound financial footing? Today, our national debt stands at over $14 trillion. Unemployment continues to rise, with more than 14 million Americans out of work now. And the government continues to spend more money than it collects, or than I believe it should collect. As co-chairs of the President's own Fiscal Commission have warned, if we fail to take swift and serious actions, the United States faces, according to them, the most predictable economic crisis in history. A quote attributed to many people, including my fellow Missourian Mark Twain, would be, "It's hard to make predictions, especially when you're talking about the future. But the thing that's the easiest to predict is demographics. If you know how many people are here now and have all the other demographic information you need, you should be able to figure out what the population is going to look like. And as the population gets older, our programs for seniors will cost more." At his news conference yesterday, President Obama was asked about Social Security reform. And he said in a statement I didn't quite understand, Social Security is not the source of our deficit problem. But then he went on to say, the reason we do Social Security in the debt ceiling plan is to strengthen Social Security to make sure that benefits are there for the seniors in the out years. Well, I agree totally. This is the time to deal with Social Security. It's particularly the time to deal with Social Security if you're going to deal with Social Security in a way that doesn't impact anyone who's retired or anyone who's approaching retirement. The President went on to say that Republicans want to talk about Social Security as part of a broader deal because it's politically difficult to vote on. Now, I actually think that a lot of Republicans and a lot of Democrats want to talk about Social Security because we know that now is the right time to save it. And that if you're going to save it for future generations, you have to start sooner rather than later. And if we're going to leave Social Security better than we found it, we've got to begin to work on it right now. Each year, Social Security costs are higher. This year, they're going to be 3.6% higher than last year. That's a one-year increase, 3.6% in 1 year. The worker to beneficiary ratio. And we know how Social Security works. People paying in largely fund the money that's going out today. Well, people paying in 2035 will be 2.1 for every person working. And in the current system, there's no way that the pages on the floor here today are going to be able to pay half of whatever the average recipient gets, but that's what you'd have to do if we don't change the system. We have to deal with the deficits facing Social Security, and I think we need to deal with them right now, whether it's politically difficult or not. Otherwise, there won't be a Social Security program that works for the people who are paying in today. Social Security no longer collects what it spends. We have a $45 billion deficit, or a shortfall, in 2011, and the truth is we're still cashing in the IOUs to Social Security, and we'll do that as long as they're there, but eventually those IOUs run out as well. According to this year's Medicare and Social Security Trustees report, Social Security is now operating under permanent annual deficits for as long as they can calculate. Now, permanent annual deficits won't work, so what would work? Today, I'd like to discuss a plan to put Social Security on a path that means our children and our grandchildren can have confidence that the contributions that come out of their hard-earned paychecks will result in benefits when they retire. Ask people you know at work who are in their 20s or 30s if they expect to collect Social Security benefits. Just under 26% of voters under 40 believe it's even somewhat likely that they'll receive all their promised Social Security benefits. 26%, somewhat likely, not guaranteed, not absolute, somewhat likely. And just to give you an idea, 15% of people believe that Social Security will be fine if it's not reformed. 15%. 20% of people polled believe that aliens exist and live among us. So the number of people that believe that aliens exist and live among us is higher than the number of people that believe that Social Security will be fine if it's not reformed. The last time the Senate and the House made comprehensive changes in Social Security was 1983. Well, it's time to do it again. It's time to do it again, and we can make changes in a program that won't affect those who are approaching retirement, though that'll be always the charge. They're going to take Social Security from retirees. Well, this is a plan that talks about people who are 55 and younger and no change for anybody who's 55 or older today. So if you're 55 or older and you hear a discussion about at least this plan, it has nothing to do with you. It won't affect your Social Security. So that's the first point. The second point would be we need to look at a new cost of living index that's really based on the cost that seniors have. The third point, we need a new distribution formula, and if we do those three things, we'll have a solvent system for at least 7 decades. Most seniors live on a fixed income, and they feel it when their utility bills go up, their health care costs go up, or when their food prices go up. The current cost of living adjustment, the so-called COLA formula, calculated by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, known as the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, tracks purchases by working age individuals. Now, frankly, what working age individuals buy may be quite a bit different than how seniors spend their money, or at least how most seniors spend their money. Many economists believe this causes the CPI to misrepresent the inflation that impacts seniors. And seniors deserve better. For example, the rising cost of education and child care are heavily weighted in the current formula. These costs don't often have the same impact on seniors as they do on the working age population or the younger population. But health care costs and utility bills, as an example, have more impact on seniors and on the budget of seniors than they do on the working age population. My plan directs the Bureau of Labor Statistics to develop a more accurate method of calculating COLAs for Social Security recipients. It would move to a chain-weighted CPI that accounts for the purchasing habits of individuals, not of all ages, but individuals who are over 65. And health care costs would account for a much larger portion of seniors' spending in this type of an index. What seniors spend their money on is what we'd be looking at, instead of what everybody who's in the working age population spends their money on. This plan will eliminate the program's long-term funding shortfall and ensure payments for the next 70 to 75 years. Like the President's Fiscal Commission, my plan would account for the increase in life expectancy and would call for an increase in the normal retirement age. Now remember, primarily these are for retirees who don't believe they're going to benefit from the system anyhow. Most of the people we're talking about here who will be impacted don't think the system's going to be there for them. We're trying to ensure that it would be. Our current benefit structure is simply not sustainable, and that's why my plan would also modify the current benefit structure to ensure that seniors who earned at or below the 40th percentile receive exactly the same amount of retirement benefits as they would if the program continued exactly as it is today. And a new, slightly reduced index benefits would occur above the 40 percentile. Wealthier future seniors can plan for their retirement years through personal savings, through retirement plans, through alternative investments, through IRAs, through employer-sponsored plans. But those who are not in that category would continue to get exactly the same benefit when they retire they would get at today's retirement age. And so, back to President Obama's comments yesterday, let's look at a plan that does the following, President Obama. Let's look at a plan that has no higher rate of contributions, no means test for Social Security recipients, no tax on future beneficiaries, but slightly lower benefits and a slightly longer time to work to retirement. But the difference is, if you work to retirement, you actually get a benefit. This is no longer a topic we can avoid, so let's not miss this opportunity. Let's make a promise right now, while we're dealing hopefully with big issues, to workers paying the bill today, that Social Security will be there for them when they retire. And Madam President, I would suggest the absence of a quorum.